Howdy, this is Rick Clark, Farm Green 13. I am here today to answer a question that my good friends at Farmer's Footprint asked me. Rick, how do you deal with weeds in your system? Okay, we are headed toward regenerative, organic, cover crop, no-till system. That's what everything is premised around. We are going to do organic with no tillage. So the number one question is, how do you suppress weeds? Okay. Sometimes we do and sometimes we don't. I'll be honest with you. We've had very good success in the soybeans. And that's a field that we're standing in right now. And what you're seeing around me not only are soybeans, but are also escaped foxtail that has come late in the season. But as you can see, there are very few broadleaves, and that's important. Now, the success of next year's cash crop begins with the success of this year's cover crop. So let's dive into that statement just a little bit deeper. We have to figure out how to get our cover crops out in these fields in a timely fashion. Now, we've done that by doing a couple of things. The first thing to do would be to shorten your relative maturities of your cash crops. If you can shorten up those maturities, that gets you into the field sooner in the fall and again gets these cover crops established. Now, we have also added in a step or part of the system that we call regen. And what regen is, you take the field out of production, it raises no cash crop, and it gives you an opportunity to plant a cool season cocktail from the fall before. And then when that works itself out in that June time frame, you come back with a warm season cocktail, which in the region that we're from, which is West Central Indiana, we don't get very many opportunities to do warm season cocktails. This is a great opportunity to do that. Then you come in by September the 10th and you establish whatever cover crop you need to for the next cash crop in the following year. And then a small grain, a cereal grain, is another great way to get ahead of the game. And after you've harvested, let's say wheat, for example, you harvested wheat in mid-July, do not double crop soybeans. Now you come back in with that warm season cocktail, and then you're going to get ready to lay down the cocktail that you want to have for the weed suppression for the next cash crop. Okay, soybeans. We have been raising our poundage of cereal rye per acre every year for the last 5 years, and we are currently up to 100 pounds per acre, and it's still not enough. Because like I mentioned before, we've done a pretty good job of holding the broadleaves, but we're getting escaped foxtail, because what's happening is when we roll this mat down in the spring, we have a sufficient amount of mat there to suppress the weeds early. But what's happening is our microbial system is in overdrive, and it is absolutely chewing through all of this material that we're putting down, and it's actually opening up that mat or that mulch or whatever you want to call it, and letting some sunlight come in before my cash crop can canopy, and that's what's letting the foxtail come in late season. So what we're going to do this year is we're going to do it a little different. We're going to broadcast 50 pounds of cereal rye right over the top after we've harvested the cash crop. Then we're going to come in right behind that with the drill, the air seeder, the John Deere air seeder, and we're on 10-inch spacing, and we're going to then air seed or drill 100 pounds of Elbon cereal rye. Again, we want to stay with the same variety in the field so that it all matures the same. We don't use VNS. We are variety specific here, so that it will mature at about the same time, so we can get it into our roll-crimp system. I'm hoping that by adding the 50 pounds more and getting a broadcast with the drill row, 10-inch spacing, we've now covered in that area between the 10-inch rows, and I'm hoping that gives us what we need then to hold this foxtail back. But broadleaf control is very acceptable. Now, next question. What do you do if you get a leakage of broadleaves in this system that I just described? One of the tools that we are currently, actually we just purchased it about a week ago, we're still putting it together. It's just all the parts have finally showed up today. We're going to run a weed zapper out on some fields, and we're going to, with electricity, we're going to kill some broadleaves like giant ragweed, water hemp, mare's tail, things like that. I'm not fully decided yet if this is what I want to do, but here's what I'm going to tell you. I do not want to invest in a fleet of 30 feet equipment out here. I'm trying to do this in a 2 or 3 pass system. So for example, we've planted these cover crops in the fall. Like I said, we've done everything we can to get the air seeder rolling by September the 10th. We now are out here, we've laid down the 50 pounds of L-bond broadcast. We're going to drill 100 pounds more into that next spring when the cereal rye is growing and we've gotten to boot stage, which is typically in our region in that late April, early May. We're planting beans right into that standing rye. Then in 45 days, so that's pass 1, after you exclude the pass to get the cover crop out. I'm referring to a 2-pass system or 3-pass system. That's the planting part of the system. Okay, so the planter comes in at boot stage. There's pass 1. Now, within 40 to 45 days, depending on weather, the cereal rye will reach maturity when it's at anthesis. That's dropping pollen. And the reason why this works so well in this system is we are now coming back with an I&J roller crimper, and we're going to roll the field flat. And we're rolling everything, beans, cereal rye, everything, okay? So now the soybeans in about this 40-day period have reached a growth stage of probably V2 to V2.5. And we are now going to roll this down at anthesis, because the reason why this works is because the lignin in the plant is at the highest, and the I&J roller terminates the cereal rye at that moment. When you roll it, it's over. So we've now taken this 150 pounds, rolled it flat, beans and all. Within a day or two, the beans stand right back up, and they don't care what's going on. And we've now laid down this beautiful mat, and we are now suppressing weeds all the way through the rest of the growing season. Now, I have kind of a rule of thumb here. I am expecting the cover crop to suppress weeds for 70% of the job. And I'm expecting the cash crop canopy to do the other 30%. So we are on 20-inch row spacing for corn and beans. So I'm hoping that the 150 pounds in the soybean crop will get us that 70% that I just discussed. And as you can tell on the field I'm standing in, we've reached canopy. So there are no broadleaves coming. It's just these escaped foxtails coming. And I think that 70-30 is about the right number. So again, the success of next year's cash crop begins with the success of this fall's cover crop. It is imperative that these cover crops get established in the fall in a timely fashion and be able to get a foothold so they can survive the winter and come out next spring and give us the suppression that we hope for. I hope this has been helpful. Everyone have a great day. Thank you very much.